All right, so again, good evening. I'm Valerie Velhagen, College and Career Counselor at Eldorado, and thanks for being here. This is my 10th year at Eldo in this position. My daughter went through Eldorado and graduated in 2018, so I was a fellow Eagle parent. And she's at UNM right now. She's a junior. And let's see, a little bit about me. I've lived in Albuquerque for about 25 years, and my husband's from here, and I didn't expect to live here, but I met him, and they do call it the land of entrapment, and that is what brought me here from New York. But I love it, absolutely love it here, and love my job, love working with students. I miss seeing your real faces, you guys. Hopefully sometime when the time is right, I will be seeing you in person and working with you from now till your graduation, 2022, and lots of good things will happen between now and then, and it's an exciting time. So let me share some slides and some resources, and we're going to talk a lot about, I will be covering, that's not where I want it to be. Hold on. We start at the beginning. Okay. So I'll be covering a lot of things that are really commonly asked questions, typical stuff. If I don't get to what you're wondering by the end, I'm happy to stick around, answer questions, and I'll let you know how you can contact me too, and we can always do an appointment. So welcome. I told you a little bit about me. Oh, and I am gonna post this slideshow on the counseling website where I put everything. And I'm recording this whole thing too, and I'll post that on the counseling website, and I'll email it out to the junior class. So if you don't feel like taking notes, you should be able to have all this info coming to you. If you want to reach me, email is best. I am constantly checking it, and we can make appointments. I do have a work phone number, and you're welcome to leave a message. I do try to remember to check it, but it's tough when you're remote, so I'm not on the phone all that often. But check my email, and then I have office hours where students are welcome to drop in. They know we have morning office hours during school, so during that morning time, I try to always be in my virtual office and also at lunch. And I do make appointments during those times. So students, if you ever want to pop in, if it's lunchtime, if it's morning office hours, that's great. And you're all welcome to contact me to make appointments. I talk to students and families all the time. We mostly set up a Google Meet, and I'll invite you to that, and then we can all meet on the screen, or we could do it on the phone. Counseling website. I refer to that a lot. Been here 10 years, and I just keep adding and adding, and there's a lot of resources on there, and I'll be showing you tonight. So pretty much everything I talk about tonight is available on the counseling website, is a resource on there, some kind of link. Remind texts. Students and parents, I just sent one out about 15 minutes ago about college visits coming up. If you didn't get a text from me 15 minutes ago, you probably aren't signed up for my remind texts, and I'll show you in a minute how to do that. Those are, just brief texts like, hey students, don't forget New Mexico State is coming on Friday, or hey guys, there's a deadline for this scholarship. So I like to stay in touch with remind texts. It's just an app that a lot of educators use that's handy. Students, if you haven't already joined your Google Classroom for counseling, please do that. Check your Gmail, your APS email, and you'll see an invitation from Ms. McIntyre, who's one of our counselors, and she'll say, hey guys, join this classroom. And we do post a lot of stuff in there, and right now there's tons of stuff in there about course registration for next year. So make sure to join your Google Classroom for counseling. Emails, I send them out occasionally through Synergy. Like I sent a reminder this morning about this event. So hopefully you got that email. Sometimes Mr. Burrows, he's one of our principals, and I'll have him send out emails in a different format through School Messenger. If you have no idea what I'm talking about and you never get emails from Eldorado, contact the 11th grade secretary. Ms. Dion, and she will check in our Synergy system. You probably just don't have an email in our system from when you registered your student this fall. So let's get you in the loop with that. We have an Instagram, we have a Twitter. Hopefully you'll follow us. This is Remind, how you get those texts I was talking about. We can't make the classrooms too big, so it's divvied up by last name, and you have to text that little message to the number 81010. This is on the counseling website on the main page too, so you can do this later. Students, that thing is a phone, just FYI. It doesn't look familiar. All right. So because I'm presenting this, I can't see anybody. We still good? We're good? A thumbs up? You're hearing me? You're seeing things? Thank you, thank you. All right. So, great. Okay. Here's a little tidbit of info that's kind of fun. I show this every year to the next couple of classes. So the students who graduated in 2020, even with COVID and all the craziness, they were awarded almost $10 million in scholarships. That's how much, like, say, one kid could be awarded scholarships from several different schools. We track that, we tally that up. It's a lot of money. If you're curious, this is where they went. Let's see if you can see this screen. So just under $10 million. This is pretty typical for our graduating classes. 83% or somewhere around that say they're heading on to college straight from high school. Of that 83%, 72% went to a four-year college for a bachelor's degree. 28% went to a two-year college like CNM for an associate's degree or for a trades program. That's about typical for us, those kind of stats. Many of these students who go to the two-year college then go on and transfer to a four-year college. It's a very popular thing to do, and I'll talk about that. People love CNM. People get their prereqs for 2 years. They save money. It's practically free, and then they transfer. So that's very popular. 76% stayed in state and 24% ventured out of state, even during a pandemic. We usually have around 4 to 5% of our class joins the military, enlists straight out of school. Trade school, 1%. I think that's going to be growing. We're seeing a lot of interest by students in more hands-on trade school apprenticeships. I'll talk a little bit about that if that is more what you're interested in. Some students go to work full time, take time off. I'm hoping to not have 5.5% undecided. I want to be here to tell you all the options that there are and reasons why we should have something set up for you right after graduation, whatever you choose as the best path for you. We have students go to such a variety of schools, from Adams State in Alamosa, just over the border in Colorado, all across the country. I'm going to talk about WUI schools, if you've heard that term, or I'll explain it tonight. A lot of these schools that are out of state give a discounted tuition on the WUI program. So, wide variety. This varies so much from year to year. We have students going everywhere. And people just are curious about this sometimes. Our student going to Stanford, he decided to take a gap year because they offered that to all. A lot of colleges offered students a gap year because of COVID, because they knew they couldn't really bring them to campus. So many of our out-of-state students chose to take a year off. So lots and lots of data here. And I'll stop sharing that and move on. All right, just a little Plug for why to go on to college for you students. I don't know if there's anybody out there who's thinking, all this online learning, I am so over this. I'm kind of done with the whole learning thing and I can't wait to graduate and I'm done with school. We get a lot of that. It's usually next year, senioritis, but if I can make any plug for this, the longer you stay in school and the higher level of degree you get post high school, after high school, these are your earnings. I don't know if you can really see it, but basically the bottom one is if you don't graduate high school, you're limited, limited earnings. Moving on to the fourth one up is an associate's degree. Fifth one up is your bachelor's, and then on to grad school. And just the longer you stay in school, the higher your degree, the more money you are likely to make. And this is the inverse screen about unemployment. So the higher your degree, the less likely you are to be unemployed. Now with COVID, all bets are off, and we all know many families who are struggling with this economy. So gosh, I know we all hope that that's a thing of the past very soon. But post-secondary education is going to take you where you want to go. All right, this is something that I want to tell you this year, because a lot of times seniors, it kind of bites them in the butt. They don't realize this. You're going to be applying to college next fall, next winter, depending on timelines. So think about your transcript. It's going to be looking like, the one you send to colleges is going to look like what it looks like at the end of this year, like this semester. You know, you're going to wrap up in May, you're going to have your beautiful summer off, and then it's going to be fall and you're going to have college application deadlines and you're going to be sending them. You're going to say, Miss Velhagen, how do I send my transcript again? And it's going to look like what it looks like at the end of this year. So that's why I say finish strong, have a good semester. It stinks that it's online, but do your best. And if you have some grades on your transcript from back at freshman year or sophomore year that you've always, you know, they've bugged you, maybe they're grades that weren't so great or you had a rough class, now's the time to talk to your counselor about retaking that class if you need to bring up your GPA. That's something that we can talk about individually, but you want your transcript to look like how you want it with your best possible GPA next fall when you're applying to college and scholarships, because the GPA, your grades are important for that. So just a little explanation of that. Also, you may be asking teachers for recommendations. A lot of colleges and scholarships require recommendations, and think about the teachers that know you this year. Do you turn your camera on? Are you doing your work? Are you making a good impression? Next year, you're going to say, oh gosh, I got to ask somebody for a recommendation. So keep that all in mind as college approaches. On the counseling website, I won't take too long, but there are some to-do lists. Let's see if that link works. You find us on the counseling website under class reminders, and they're right here. I won't go into it, but if you're wondering about the timing, like, oh, when am I supposed to do this? And what should I be doing this summer? That's a good reference for you. While we're there, there's also a college resources page right here, and there's a link to preparation by grade, and that has lists of what should I be doing junior year and senior year. So maybe take a peek at that. This is a very helpful page right here that we'll look at later. I'm just talking at you. We're still good? All right, great. So let's cruise along. Students, I like to show this kind of early on because this is a question I get a lot is, can I apply for scholarships now or do I have to wait till I'm a senior? Totally, please apply for them now. On the counseling website, there's a whole scholarship page, and there's actually one I'm really trying to promote. It's the Optimist Essay Contest. It's $2,500. We have had several students win it before because it's a local contest. Excuse me. And coming up on February 14th, it's due. So if you're willing to write a brief essay about optimism in the middle of the pandemic, this could be your money. There's an essay contest by Jiffy Lube. It's what drives you. Get it? If you have your driver's license or you're in driver's ed, you can write an essay. We've had students win that one. And there are a bunch of others. I'm going to take a minute to show you the website. And I just want you to know the big picture of scholarships is colleges give scholarships, right? Based on, like I said, your transcript, your grades. Colleges give scholarships based on your family's finances. The government gives scholarships based on your finances. There are also scholarships that are private, that are run by places like Jiffy Lube or anybody who feels like giving away money that students can apply for. And often they are not based on your income or your GPA or any other details about you other than the fact that you're willing to sit down and crank out some essays and do the whole scholarship hustle looking for money. So if you've talked to your families about college being expensive and you say, oh, I really want to go out of state, and they say, well, you better start looking for scholarships, here's one place you can look. So this is also a counseling website. I have this first link is a whole huge Excel spreadsheet of a bunch of different scholarships. I would look at that. These things are for seniors only. This here, College Board Opportunity, juniors can create an account and you start racking up possible money that will be, that they have drawings and say you, let's see, I like it for juniors because you can get rolling on it this year and start just putting things into your account. So everybody knows College Board, they do the SAT, the PSAT, the AP tests, they do a lot of testing. And they also do things like college searches and scholarship opportunities. So this one, you sign yourself up and you can do things like, hope you can see this, all of these different little things that you do, you're banking potential money. And then if they draw your name, you could win up to $40,000, or there are smaller ones, right? Once you start building a college list and looking at their scholarship site and doing SAT prep, you're banking money in this account. It doesn't take much effort to just log in students and do this, and maybe you get some money. Other good ones for juniors. Here's the Optimist one I was talking about, February 14th. Take a peek. Here is in March, the Jiffy Lube one and several others that are open to all grade levels. So take a peek at that. And I'm going to go to the left. And these are popular scholarship websites. Lots of them are really good. Albuquerque Community Foundation gives away a lot of money locally to scholarships, and some are just for us in Albuquerque, and some are just for Eldorado. And then these are search engines where you can sign yourself up. You give them your email and a little bit of details, and then they start emailing you scholarships. You never give them your social security number, students. Nobody should be asking you for that. When you choose your college next year and you're setting up financial aid and you're definitely committed, you will need to, that's the only time they'll need to see your social, or if you're taking out a loan. But so for scholarships, don't disclose that. And then I would pick one of these and let them start emailing you scholarships. Any one of these, it's going to be duplicating stuff if you do them all. Don't go too crazy. But I want to show you this one called Raise Me. I'm just checking in here. Okay. Raise Me is great. So students, if you want to get rolling on this, it's easy and I think it's fun. You create an account and you start adding in your achievements. So say you took an AP class, that's worth $1,000. Say you are on a team or in a club, or you volunteered, any achievements that you do that are really good accomplishments, they basically are worth a certain amount of money on this website. And then I'm going to scroll down quick here. If you decide to go to any of the colleges. There's 330, and if you decide to go to any one of these schools and you're admitted, then they guarantee you the money that you banked by filling out this website. So I could go in as a junior, I could say I took honors English, I took AP US history, I joined a club, I did all these things. I'm keeping up my Raise Me account, like it's like a little online resume sort of. And then say I decide I want to go to ASU, and I've banked all my little money, and ASU guarantees me that money. So it's interesting. This is called micro scholarships, and it's kind of new. It's been around for a couple of years, but give that a shot. And oh, my favorite one, if we ever get back in person, I always tried to convince seniors to do this. Actually, anybody who goes to prom, so it doesn't have to be a senior. You make your prom outfit out of duct tape, and you can win big bucks. Let me see. You have to wear it physically to prom. You can go alone or with a friend or with a date, but it's all duct tape because it's a duct tape company, and look at the money. I know it's like some people get so into this. I tell my students and they're like, I'm not good at writing essays and my family's not low income. What am I going to do? And they get pretty psyched about this. So there's big money, and I think it would be fun to wear to prom, but who knows? I'm not a teenager right now. So these are all duct tape. So if that sounds like fun to you, let me know next year, you guys, when we're back in person and I'm talking to you as a senior. I want to know if you're going to do the duct tape scholarship. All right. Colleges, the college search. How are you supposed to know where to apply, where you want to go, what's a good fit for you? So sit down with yourself and your family and figure out what are your absolute non-negotiables, right? Do you want it to be a big, fun football game, kind of a school spirit school? Is that size important to you? Like, does it need to be 40,000 students and big stadiums and fraternities and sororities and the whole school spirit? Is that your college dream? Do you want it to be a really small school, where the classes are no more than 12 students to one professor and you feel really taken care of and comfortable? That's a big thing to ask yourself. There are all kinds of sizes. There's everything in between. So, sorry, just checking that we're doing okay. Cost, of course, is huge. I mean, I should put that at the top, but there are ways to pay for school. So you want to make sure your size, your location are hugely important. I have students sometimes say to me, I have to be near skiing. I can't be far from a beach. I have to be near my mom's laundry machine. It's your decision what's important to you. Maybe you get yourself organized with a little notebook or a calendar. Students do it all different ways to keep themselves organized with their college search, because there's tons of schools to choose from and it can be really overwhelming. So find out the organizational tool that works for you. Distance from home, what majors do they have? Even if you don't know what you want to study yet, it's important to find out if schools have programs that you might be interested in. And all of our juniors are doing a career inventory this week called U-Science, which helps them get a sense of what their natural strengths are and what they might want to study after high school. So I'm hoping that gives students some guidance before they start planning college. All these other topics. Do you want to be able to be in certain organizations? Greek life. What's a good fit? Back to the counseling website quickly. There are some really good search tools. If you're just like, I don't even know where to begin. I know UNM, I know CNM, I know New Mexico State, that's about it. Look, there are thousands of choices across the country. And if you're wide open and you really need some help narrowing it down, pick a search like this. This is good old College Board again. And you can search by all of these factors: location, type of school, size, what majors do they have, et cetera, et cetera. So that's great. And then you can save your results and start narrowing it down. There's other ones. CapEx, our students really like CapEx. It has a college search as well as a scholarship search. And it has this stressful thing on here that gives you like the chances of getting into competitive schools. I know they have that on here somewhere. It's like, hey, I'm going to pick a reach school that I've always wanted to go to, and I'm going to see if I have a chance of getting in there. They have some stats about that on here. Let's go back to here. Just give me one sec. I'm going to share this screen. So all of these are different ways to search for college. And here's a way to tour colleges even when you can't get there in person. I have it on a slide later on. Typically, I really encourage you to go and visit schools if they're out, whether it's in town, like if you've never actually been to UNM to tour the school, except when you were in 3rd grade and you fed the ducks at the duck pond. Go there if you're thinking of attending UNM. Next year when they have a fall open house, go. Make sure you feel comfortable there. Tour the dorms. Sit in on some classes if you can. Find out about the programs. There's no substitute for being on a campus. And so right now, every single college has a virtual tour on their website, and you could start looking at those. But we'll be able to go in person one of these days. And there is an excuse for that too. We have a 12th grade secretary. You are able to do college visits and be excused for that. So if your family says, hey, it's spring break, we want to tack on a couple of days at the end of our break and go do a tour of a few colleges in the area, you can fill out a form and be excused for that. So this book here, I highly recommend. I've loaned it to lots of students. Where you go is not who you'll be. There's so much stress and pressure about college. Where am I going? Where did I get in? I can't afford this school. I think I should go here, but I'm going to go here. All of these factors that I see students and families struggling with, this book just basically is very down to earth and talks about how wherever you end up, you're going to basically have a fantastic experience if that's what you make of it. And that there are so many interesting stories about highly successful people who went to all kinds of different schools. And I really like that book. Just a little recommendation. So let's go back. I'm checking in. Are we good? We are still hearing me. I'm talking fast. I don't want to keep you all night. Okay, great. Let's look at, okay, this is more about how to research colleges. There is on our counseling main page, and I also just sent a remind text about this exact thing to students. There is a list of college visits, and these are, right now it's on Zoom, but it's right here. There's a sign up for these virtual college visits. We have this Friday, New Mexico State. Anybody who's considering state, I really want you to show up to this. It's during office hours, so you're not missing class. It's just a half hour, and our representative is actually a former Eagle who went to state, and she is now one of their reps, and she's awesome. And she'll talk to you briefly about their programs, their scholarships, the fact that they stack the lottery on top of their scholarships, etc. So that's state on Friday. New Mexico Tech coming the following week. Fantastic school for STEM fields, science, engineering, tiny school where you do have that warm and fuzzy, I'm being noticed and cared for feeling. And they also stack the lottery on top of their scholarships, and they're super generous. Tech has an amazing reputation. If you're thinking you want to go into one of the sciences or engineering, they're great. You should be looking at them. We have Adams State, and they are just over the border in Alamosa, and they give New Mexico students in-state tuition. They're one of those special deals. And CSU Pueblo, also just over the border, and they have some great scholarships. CNM is coming later this month, and to talk to students about college and dual credit, whatever questions you have. And then we're setting up UNM to come soon, and some other schools too. They all came in the fall and they're coming back. So juniors, just click here, sign yourself up. I just need your basic details because I'm going to send you a reminder email so you don't forget they're coming. And you just find the one you want and check a little box so I know, oh, okay, they signed up for state but not for tech or whatever it is. So that's a quick plug for that, because starting to talk to colleges is really important, students. If you are looking to make up your mind, you want to hear what they have to say. It could be some tiny little nugget that a rep throws out, like, I don't know, when Texas Tech talks about how their water park is the world's biggest college water park on a campus, maybe that sells you, you know? You never know what you're going to hear. And you don't have to be intimidated about coming to those visits. They mostly have a presentation and you're just listening. And if you have questions at the end, great. Also, then you make a nice connection with that rep, and next year when you're applying, you know, they make a note that you came to their visit. So that's a plus. All right, so New Mexico State is this Friday. I'd love to see some students there. And there's a college fair that's happening this weekend, of course, virtual. Big Future. This is, so I used to be part of this college fair that happens at the convention center every year. It's New Mexico's biggest fair every fall. I really missed putting it on this year. We just help organize it, and students from all over the state come to that, and we have hundreds of colleges. Hopefully we can have that next fall, and I can bug you to come to that. But for now, it's all virtual college fairs, and this way you're getting to know hundreds of colleges if you're still shopping around. So this is, there are 4 events broken down by parts of the country, not where you live, but where you think you want to go to college. So this is, Saturday, I believe. And if you're interested in seeing hundreds of colleges in our West and Southwest region, you might want to pop into that college fair. And then mark your calendars if you're aiming for schools in these regions. And you can check those out. So there's details on how to attend. I believe I have this on the counseling website main page as a news item, and if not, you can find it by just Googling College Board Big Future, but I'm sure I have it on the website. So do your research, find as many, narrow down the schools as well as you can. Now's the perfect year to be doing that. Students, nobody expects you to know exactly where you want to go or what you want to do. This is your investigation time. There's plenty of time. Okay, more search engines. I want to show you WUI. This is hugely popular with our students. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a funny name, WUI. It's Western Undergraduate Exchange. Basically, tuition savings. And it's public universities in the West and Southwest, okay, over 160 schools that, so they don't, I want you to hear this because students get confused. They don't give you in-state tuition. Like if you pick a school that's in Wyoming, you're not going to pay what a Wyoming student would pay, but they give you 1.5 times in-state tuition for that state. Let me give you an example. It sounds confusing, but it's basically a sweet deal, and you can save an average of about $10,000 a year as an out-of-state student. So let's look at Colorado State. This is not, if it's not going to let me search. Okay. Here we go. So Colorado State in Fort Collins, Very popular school with our students. Great college, cheaper than Boulder. Many people love the University of Colorado in Boulder, but they do not give very generous scholarships typically. And so a lot of times students, if they're very budget conscious and they want to be in Colorado, CSU tends to be more popular. Hopefully you can see here on the left, let me zoom in. So you're going to save $97.78 a year for 4 years, because if you were a Colorado resident, you'd be paying $12,000 a year tuition. If you're just your regular New Mexico resident going to Colorado, you're stuck paying $28,000 a year. But with this WUI deal, it drops it down from 28 to 18. All right, that's still a lot. You still have to do 4 years times that, and you still have to pay room and board on top of that. I understand. But this could be an option for you. Many students apply to WUI schools, and I'm going to see. I think you'll find, if you search this WUI website, that like as you're building your list of colleges, students, you may want to add in some WUI schools. There's ways to search. Make it bigger. So you can filter by state. It's all of the, I think there's 13 states. It's basically from here west and a bit north of us. Includes Hawaii. I have a student right now in Alaska on this deal. She's in Fairbanks. She's here at University of Alaska Fairbanks, and she's saving $13,000 a year. So how do you get these WUI deals? You have to spend some time on this website, look up the different schools, and see. Sometimes you just have to be a New Mexico student, boom, they give you the deal. Sometimes you have to have a particular GPA or maybe test score. It totally depends on the college, and just do your research. I sit with students in my office and they'll say, I want to study marine biology, and I know I can't do that in the desert. So we look up California schools that offer marine biology, and we see what they're going to save there, and then we take a look at that. So you can play with WUI if you want to leave the state and find some deals. I recommend that. Okay, New Mexico schools. Fun fact, because I get this question a lot, what is the difference between a college and a university? So students, if you don't know this, colleges have undergrad degrees. When people say, I'm going to go get my undergrad, that's like a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree. You're not in graduate school yet. And you're earning that degree. And if a school also offers graduate degrees, a law school, a master's program, medical school, anything that's above a typical bachelor's degree, if that university has those programs, they can call themselves a university. If it only has undergrad degrees, they call themselves a college. Fun fact. Okay. Next fall, hopefully when we're in person, we will have our typical fall college fair that's in the media center, and all of our New Mexico schools come. They waive the application fee, so you're saving 25 or 30 or 35 bucks, and they let you apply in person. Even if you're thinking of going out of state and you're shopping around, I want you to apply to New Mexico schools. For sure, there's no harm, and you may end up being very glad you did it, and there's no limit to how many colleges you can apply to. So next fall, they'll make it easy on us, and they'll come to campus. They'll waive the fees. When it comes time to send that transcript I was talking about that colleges want to see, we have a website called Parchment where you're going to go create an account, and you put in there, hey, send my transcript to any school you want. We're going to talk about SAT scores and ACT scores. If you need to send them to a college, that's going to be on you to send them and make sure the college gets them. We'll talk about that. What did I write here? Check your email. Check your students. Check your email. You've learned that this year. I know you're slammed with, I've seen students' inboxes with virtual learning. I've seen what it looks like. So it's a lot. Colleges will be communicating with you by email. I've had many students lose out on scholarships because they never checked their email and they missed a deadline, or the college sent them an email and said, I need to hear back from you by March 1st if you're going to accept this scholarship. Students just blew it off. So please, please, please don't blow off your email. We talked a little bit about college tours already. Test optional, we're going to talk about that. ACT and SAT, for my students who hate tests, who are test phobic, who are really good students but just don't test well, you know who you are. That does not need to keep you out of college, all right? First of all, we don't know what the colleges are going to be requiring next year for ACT and SAT. They all went test optional, almost all, this year because of COVID, because students couldn't get a spot to take the ACT or SAT. And so colleges are really rethinking how important that testing is to them in their process for admissions and scholarships. And there could be a lot of changes between now and when you guys are headed to college. There's nobody who has the crystal ball who knows what's going to happen. I've been telling students, just try to get into an ACT or SAT if you can between now and next fall, because you may need it. That's the best advice I can give you, is give it a shot. But if you're one of those folks who just is not confident about your testing skills, I want you to know that CNM and other community colleges never require ACT or SAT. So you can always go to those schools and often transfer to your next school. And New Mexico Highlands, they're in Las Vegas, New Mexico. It's a 4-year college, but they do not require the ACT or SAT. So may be helpful for you to know. Wait, I'll come back to this. Let's talk about testing. Oh my goodness, now you can see how much we're going to cover, but I'm going to talk even faster, I promise. Okay, I know I have a testing slide. So many colleges have gone test optional. What that means is if seniors this year managed to get in and take an ACT or SAT and they were happy with their scores, they welcome them to send them and they may look at them. But basically they changed their whole admissions requirements and scholarship requirements to do without the tests, and they're looking much more heavily at grades and any other items. Some colleges do look at things like how much you participated and your volunteer work and your clubs, and we'll talk about that. But some schools don't. Some schools, like, if you're applying to UNM, all they want is your transcript, really. Used to be transcript and ACT. So, it depends on the type of school you're applying to, how selective they are and what they require. But ACT, SAT, they're accepted at all schools. So there's no preference. It used to be like if you wanted to go to college in Texas, you had to take the SAT. That doesn't exist anymore, right? So nobody cares which one you take. If they're going to require it, you can take whichever one you think you're going to do better on. On the counseling website, there's a very detailed ACT, SAT page where I explain a little bit more about it. I have the test dates coming up. There's always 7 per year, ACT and 7 SAT. There's lots of stuff you can read about this later. But there's links for how you register, there's dates. And I want you to know, if you're on free or reduced lunch, please see me for a waiver. You can take these tests for free and you get other perks too. So don't be shy about talking to me about that. Let me have too many tabs open. How we doing? We still okay? I'm throwing a lot of info at you. Okay, you're beautiful. Let's go back to, so if you decide you're going to take the ACT or SAT, I have a test prep page. I highly recommend you prep for it. The main problem that happens to students is they run out of time. That's the number one complaint is, oh, I knew the stuff, but I like didn't realize I had no time left. They're so fast. So let me skip to this. Here's the difference of the two tests. The ACT is the one that's faster paced and people run out of time on more. Oh, sorry. Okay. ACT has English, math, reading, and science, and an optional essay that very few schools require. It's only some selective out-of-state schools want you to pay the extra few bucks for the essay. You should know which schools those are. If you are applying to some selective elite schools, you may want to take the essay. But they're cramming in 215 questions in just under 3 hours. SAT, it's 3 sections. There's no science. And they're getting rid of the essay this summer. They're just not offering it anymore. But look, there's so much more time per question. However, so you'd think everybody would take the SAT because it's like, okay, great, there's no science and it's not as rushed. But often the alternative is sometimes people feel like the SAT can be harder. You know, take some practice ones. Practice both. Try them both, see what you like. I think students typically have a very strong preference. For those of you, all of our sophomores got to take the PSAT last year when they were sophomores. If you still have your results for that, or if you don't, you can email me and I'll send them to you. That gives you a little glimpse into how you'll do on the SAT, because that's the preliminary SAT. It's not made for juniors. You took the PSAT as a sophomore when it's really normed for juniors. But if you did okay on that and you kind of liked that structure, maybe sign up for the SAT. If you hated the PSAT, maybe give the SAT a try. And if you just can't get into one because of COVID, don't stress, because nobody can make you do that. You want your scores ideally before next fall when you're applying to colleges, because you want your transcript to look beautiful and you want your test scores to be ready to go. That's why you take it in spring or summer of junior year, maybe fall of junior year. And after that, you're like, I'm done with my ACT or SAT. That's the timing. The way the score reporting works is you control it. If you try taking one of these tests and you hate your scores and you realize, oh my gosh, I overslept and my alarm didn't go off and I'm like was a wreck and I bombed the test, okay, don't send those scores. Go retake it, send those scores. Some colleges have a policy called super scoring, and that means if you take it multiple times and you send those scores to them for both dates, they'll take the highest section from each date. It's like, oh, I did great on math in April, but in June I was way higher in my reading area, and then in September my science was the best. So send them all and they'll take the best ones. That's beautiful when they do that. You have to check with each college to see if that's their policy. So it depends on the school. That's enough.
Miss Velhagen, I have a question.
Yeah.
So whenever you go to a community college and then you go to a four-year college, does the four-year college require ACT and SAT scores?
Ooh, Rachel, great question. Thank you for asking that. They do not. Like you can get into a community college with no test scores. You do your associate's degree there, 2 years, and then you apply to your four-year college as a transfer student. And they're like, oh, wow, they already have an associate's college degree. We're not going to bug them for their SAT scores or ACT scores from back in high school. So absolutely, if you're transferring from community college, you don't need it. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that. I'm looking in the chat and I see that you say that. And yes, a question, would I share this presentation? Yes, I'm going to email out this whole video to juniors tomorrow in School Messenger, in School Messenger, and I'll try and post this slideshow on the counseling website too. All right, so let's see. I know I skipped ahead and I have a lot to cover. Money is kind of the big thing we're going to talk about here in a minute. Almost there. Oh yeah, this is what you were just asking about. If you do the CNM route, you don't ever need to take your, ACT/SAT. So yeah, CNM will be at Eldorado in the fall to help students apply. They always do an online session in our media center. We did it online this year too. You apply online. It's super easy to apply. And all you need is to have a high school diploma. That's all they want to see. Their bridge scholarship is their first semester scholarship, and it covers all tuition and fees. So it's basically free. And then after that, you qualify for the lottery scholarship. And I know people always have questions about lottery, so let me make sure I explain that in context with all of our in-state schools. I'll come back to the lottery. Official transcripts. This is what I was talking about in the fall. You're going to send them through Parchment, or juniors, you guys who are thinking of applying to out-of-state schools, I want you to take a look this year at these two websites, Common App and Coalition App. These are generic college application sites online that partner with hundreds of schools. I think Common App has 800 schools on it, and they all agreed to take the same application. So say I'm applying to 15 colleges, all out of state, all over the place. Do I have to fill out a separate application for each one on their website? I'm going to go berserk. So no, check out Common App and Coalition App. They're both very popular, and you kind of kill a bunch of birds with one stone. You do the essay once. You fill out your whole profile once. You can ask counselors and teachers for recommendations through the portal there. And this is a very common way to apply to out-of-state schools. So be aware of these, and you can actually create an account as a junior. Parents, they have great videos and info for parents on there about what's the college application process like. So check those out. May 1st, that is your day called College Signing Day. Students ask me, seniors are asking me right now, when do I have to decide? When do I have to decide? May 1st, it's going to be like 2 weeks before you graduate. You may be waiting that long to decide which college is going to be lucky enough to have you, okay? That's the national day when they need to hear back from you. Let's take a look. Here's some other deals. I showed you the WUI with its discounts. I want you to know Texas Tech. It's one of our most popular schools because it's within driving distance from, a decent day's drive. They have excellent, very generous scholarships. And if you qualify for even the most bare bones scholarship, their academic scholarship, they will give you in-state tuition. So you can get scholarship money and Texas tuition. So it's affordable. It's one of those great spirit schools. They have every program you could think of. So it's popular with our students. Fort Lewis in Durango. See how they're a college? They don't have any grad programs there. They're a college. But it's a beautiful school in a beautiful town, also decent distance away from home. And they give absolutely free tuition if you're Native American. And they have a deal, New Mexico reciprocal, where they give us in-state tuition there too. So they're always popular. NAU, Northern Arizona in Flagstaff, another beautiful college town. If you say to me, I have to rock climb every weekend, that might be your place. They give the WUI discount, and they have academic scholarships on top of that. So we always have students go there every year. It's very popular. Lots of great programs. I talked about Adams State. They give us in-state tuition. There are some other deals you can look for. But I tend to find that a lot of our students tend to stay kind of in the Southwest, even if they want to dip their toes out of state. These are some popular schools that are affordable. Quick transition to just talk about, not everybody wants to do a four-year college. Not everybody wants to do a traditional, even 2-year, 4-year college path. there's a ton of other choices and opportunities, and I always want to support students who want to do these. Counseling website has a whole page about apprenticeships where you're learning on the job and getting paid. So there are, amazing careers all through the trades. And if you're better at hands-on learning and you're just ready to leave school and make some money and get a good trade, New Mexico needs you to do that. So I don't ever want students to feel like they're being put into some round hole, square peg in a round hole where they have to go to college. There's all kinds of other opportunities. So these links are great. As you do your U Science and you find out about yourself, if you find that maybe doing some type of a trade is a good fit for you, I want you to talk to me about it. Look at some of these resources. There's lots of apprenticeships and trades. CNM has the most diverse variety of programs that you could study, and you can just get like a less than a 2-year training. You can get a certificate. You can get training that just allows you to go out in the working world. So know that that's an option. And I know it's 7 o'clock. I was shooting for 7:15. Let's see how we do. I think I talked about out-of-state schools, Common App, Coalition App. Students, you're going to want to work with me on those if you decide, oh yeah, I'm applying through those. So you need to have a counselor write you a recommendation. You need to have teachers write you recommendations. There's a whole process. So unless you know your school counselor super well, if you do, great. Work with them. They'll write you a recommendation. Terrific. If not, I want you to start getting to know me if you haven't already, and we'll talk about how I can help you with next year's applications, okay? I do it all the time. I do want you to know about this timing. Early action. If you're applying to your dream school out of state, if you're like, I have to get into this school and they're super hard to get into, I highly recommend you look at their early action deadlines and requirements. It often moves up the deadline to apply from maybe like December or January to November. So you have to have your act together. You have to have excellent grades. You have to have possibly ACT or SAT scores and get your application done. Ask teachers for recommendations nice and early. And there's no reason why you can't get your application into colleges in mid-November. If you do early action, you get an answer sooner. So that's a win-win. And you may have a slight advantage in admissions. Colleges do admit, they used to not want to admit that, but now they say, yeah, we want students applying early. We're stressed out during, especially with COVID, colleges are losing money, colleges are losing students. And if they can find out that you want to be at their school as early as almost a year in advance, they're going to jump on that and be happy to admit you, or happier to admit you. So students, remember that about early action. Talk to me if that applies to you. Early decision. And by the way, this doesn't apply to our in-state schools or traditional colleges that have a very simple application, just transcript, test scores, boom, you're in. These are the colleges that are out of state that are more selective, that a lot of things go into the process, right? Early decision can be sort of a dirty word because you're sending in your application early, but it's called binding. If you apply early decision and they let you in, they expect you to go there. And you have to use caution in that. So there are some very elite colleges. If you want to apply early, you have to do early decision. And they make you withdraw all your other applications. They make you commit financially. So be careful with early decision. Regular decision is just the typical date on college's website. Often it's December, January, February, sometimes even later. And rolling admissions, that's how UNM and all of our in-state schools actually, how they roll. When they get your application, they process it and they give you an answer within a week or two usually. That's rolling. So it's not like you have to wait to hear from UNM till like February or something. If you apply in September, you're going to know in September if you got in. All right, out of state. If you are applying to those selective schools and it requires an essay, or if you're applying for scholarships with an essay, don't just spell check it, have someone really proofread it. You also want to sound like yourself and not like you're trying too hard to sound like somebody else or impress somebody. Often these places like Common App will give you several prompts to choose from for your college essay, and they even let you make up your own topic. So work on those. Use different prompts. I've had lots of students over the years show me their essay, and I tell them, like, I don't think this is the right topic for you. Like, look at something else. Or so there are lots of good websites with essays that did work. There's books about essays that worked. Often 12th grade English teachers help students proofread their essays. I love to proofread essays, so run it by me. Letters of rec. This is super important. Juniors, if I can bend your ear on this one. I get asked daily for letters of recommendation, and I'm happy to write them, but I don't want them to be lame. I want them to be good. Colleges don't want to read lame ones. So for them to be good, I need to know you. You need to make an effort to come and make appointments with me. I need you to keep up an impressive resume, not impressive, but keep up an up-to-date resume with all the stuff that you're involved in. I don't care if you're, working at Dion's and you can't be in any after-school activities because you've got to babysit your brother. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is that you're spending your time doing, put it on a resume and think about how you spend your time. It's not too late to get involved in activities now, this year. And think about what that's going to look like. I want you to provide, like, if I'm writing your rec or your teachers are writing your rec, they're going to want you to give them a resume, a little list of where you're applying and what you're thinking of doing. And make sure you ask people who know you well. I have had lots of teachers. I'll ask my students, who's a teacher who knows you well from junior year, so I can pick their brain when I'm writing your letter of rec, and they'll give me names, and the teacher's like, God, that kid never even turned their camera on. God, I don't even know who that kid is. So I want you to think about people recommending you need to really know you and be able to say good things about you. You always want to give notice, at least 3 weeks, and be respectful when you're asking the person for a letter, and make sure to thank them after. So that's the protocol. Some colleges require letters, some don't. Some require essays, some don't. So this is just a global advice. Paying for college. All right. These are the types of aid you can possibly get to help you pay for college. Grants and scholarships, you don't pay back. Those are the fabulous ones. We'll go more in depth into that. Work study. That is when you get a job on campus. Like if you go to UNM and you go to the bookstore and you see students working there, they got a job there. They're getting a regular paycheck like any other job, but they're putting it towards paying their school bill. They maybe make a deal with their family. Hey, my parents are going to pay some. I'm going to work some. My main job is being a good student and keeping up my grades, but I'm going to do like part-time work on campus to help pay for my food or my books or my coffee, whatever. Loans, last choice, last case scenario, only if you choose to do it, but I'll show you how you qualify for those. And then every college has to have something called a net price calculator on their website. It was put into law a couple of years ago. What that is if you're trying to figure out, hey, my dream school is University of Arizona. I don't know what it's going to cost. Let me go to their website. They ask you a bunch of questions on the net price calculator about your situation, your family, what scholarships you think you might get, family income, and then the calculator tells you what you can expect to pay. It's not foolproof, but every college has one, and it's something that you should know about. Types of aid. It's going to take us to the FAFSA website, and this is a word you're going to get to know. You parents who have older students and you've done the FAFSA, I feel your pain. No. I've done it for my daughter every year, but it's not really, people whine about it. But you know what? It takes less than an hour. You have your taxes handy, you fill it out. It's not fun because it's just a financial tax thing. But what it is, students, is every year that you're about to head into college, every year, you fill out this form called the FAFSA, Free Application for Federal Student Aid. It's online and it's free, and seniors do it October 1st or after of senior year. I'm going to be bugging you next October 1st with emails and remind texts, and we're going to have workshops, and we're going to do this. You fill it out online. It refers to your family's income from 2 years ago. So you guys are going to be freshmen in college in 2022. It's going to ask for your family's taxes from 2020. They're going to upload the taxes, put a little bit more info in there, and it's going to go to the government, and they'll decide if they're going to give you any grants. Let me actually click on the types of aid. So it goes to the government, and they have grants. And depending on your income, you might get grant money. The other place that this FAFSA form goes to is every college that you list when you fill it out. You can put up to 10 colleges on there. And there's a workaround if you apply to more than 10. So we'll talk about that next year. But what you're hoping is to get the most possible grants and scholarships, right? That's the free money. I'll let you look at this when you have more time. It's basically the FAFSA website, and they talk about aid. For a family that's, let's say, has zero income, right? God forbid, your family was laid off in 2020, you didn't have any income, right? You qualify for free lunch. If that's sort of your family situation, you might get $6,400 in the Pell Grant. That is the most commonly awarded grant by the federal government FAFSA people. It's called the Pell. And I won't spend much time on this, but this is the most common, and many of our students get at least a partial Pell Grant if they fall into the right zone. So we're here, $6,345. This is what seniors could get. Now that's if you have zero income. If you have some income, but not oodles and oodles, maybe you get a partial Pell Grant. I have students all the time who say, oh, my FAFSA results came in and I got $2,000. Okay, whatever it is, it's free money. So that's how grants work. Scholarships are the same, free money that the government and colleges will be able to hook you up with once they review your FAFSA. Okay, work study, I talked about. Maybe you get a campus job or you work for a professor. There are some cool campus jobs. The thing you need to know about work study, if you want to potentially do it, is when you fill out your FAFSA next year, there's a question. Do you want to be considered for work study? So say yes. And then if they offer you a job, you can totally turn it down. But if you don't say yes, then they won't offer it. Loans, last possible one. Nobody wants to take them out. But you can read more about loans here on the FAFSA website. And the gist is there are subsidized and unsubsidized loans. Subsidized means, and I'm looking at the time, we're going to wrap up soon. Subsidized means the government, I'm looking for the best summary here, but the government pays your interest while you're in college, and then they give you a little 6-month grace period after you graduate from college before they start charging you interest. So if you have to take out a loan, the FAFSA will connect you with the lowest interest rates, government-backed loans, and the ones that are subsidized are the nice ones because they're not charging you interest until hopefully you're out of school and working. There's something called unsubsidized loans, and you can imagine that's just the opposite. You have to start paying your interest right away. There are loans for parents, like these are loans in students' names, the subsidized and unsubsidized. Parents can take out plus loans and other loans if they choose to put their name on the loan. I don't want to spend any more time talking about that, but the more you understand about how to pay for college, the better. So I didn't talk about the scholarships that the colleges offer, right? This is just money from the government. And once you fill out your FAFSA, colleges, we won't talk about that. We talked about that. So there's need-based scholarships based on your income. There's merit-based based on your academics, your accomplishments, your wonderful activities that you spend so much time doing, your volunteer work. There's scholarships for everything. I showed you the page with everything from duct tape to Jiffy Lube. And then colleges themselves offer academic scholarships. So that's why you want to have your transcript looking beautiful and your ACT or SAT done, is so that the colleges can give you their best money right out of the gate. Colleges award you scholarships in your senior year of high school that last for all 4 years of college, as long as you keep up the requirements that they tell you have to do. The way the lottery works. The lottery scholarship in New Mexico, it comes from people who buy lottery tickets. That's where the fund comes from. It's not a lottery to get it. It starts the second semester of it, and this is only if you go to a New Mexico college or university. It starts the second semester of your freshman year because they want you to prove yourself first semester. They're like, all right, this kid's new in college. What if he's going to fail everything? We don't want to throw money away if he's going to get all Fs and not show up to class and just go eat sweet rolls at the frontier, right? So you prove yourself the first semester, and all that is being a full-time student and keeping up a 2.5. That's been the requirement for the lottery for years. You need a 2.5 GPA in your first semester in college, and full-time means if you're at a 4-year college, you need basically 5 classes. That's 15 credits. If you're at CNM or another 2-year college, you need 12 credits or 4 classes. I've had so many students who are great students, but then they get to college and then they have a job and they're really into their job and they're like, I'm going to just like go part-time and I'm going to take 3 classes instead of 4 because I got extra shifts at my job. And then guess what? You lose your lottery scholarship. So make sure you pay attention, stay full-time, get a 2.5. There are other scholarships at New Mexico schools, depending on your income. UNM just started this one called the Lobo Promise. I think if your family makes $50,000 or less per year, UNM gives you the first year's tuition free. Jump back over this. We are so close to done. You're so patient. December 1st is huge date for you for senior year. New Mexico schools, mainly New Mexico State and New Mexico Tech, have always set that as their deadline to give their best scholarships based on your grades, right? So that's why I say finish strong this year. You're going to be sending your transcript to them before you even have fall 2021 grades on your transcript. So if you're looking at UNM, they have a whole scholarship webpage. I won't go now and take your time, but it's very important to look at the freshman resident scholarships if you're thinking of UNM. And just this fall, they made a massive change where they started stacking the lottery scholarship on top of some of their scholarships. That's called stacking. And UNM never did it before. So they've completely changed the structure and the amount of all their scholarships. So if you parents have kids who went to UNM before, it's a whole new ball game there. They've changed everything. So take a peek at their website, but you want to make sure that you are good to go with being admitted by those schools before December 1st, so they will give you the scholarships. New Mexico State, they have a couple of scholarship web pages that are really good, and they stack the lottery on top of their scholarships. New Mexico Tech also stacks the lottery on top of their academic scholarships. So that's great bang for your buck. We talked about CNM being virtually free because the Bridge, and the lottery scholarship at CNM cover 100% of tuition and fees. And at these four-year colleges in New Mexico, it's never going to be 100%. The lottery is never going to be valued at 100%, but so you can't really beat the CNM financial deal, but the lottery is generous. It changes every year because the New Mexico legislature votes every summer on the lottery amount, depending on how flush the lottery fund is. This year, it's like worth about $2,400. Let's check the value of the lottery. Oh, sure, it's the wrong website. Here, I'm not going to search around, but I believe it's $2,400 a semester for UNM. So UNM, the cost of tuition and fees for a semester is close to $3,500, just classes. It's between $3,000 and $3,500 a semester, and the lottery will cover about 60% of that. My math may seem off the wall right now, but lottery is somewhere around 60% of tuition at our four-year schools right now. At CNM, it's 100% of tuition. I just wanted people to understand that. This, I think, is our last slide. Programs worth considering. Students often ask me about going abroad and about, wow, I really wanted to go out of state, but I don't think I can afford it, so I'm going to stay in state, but how can I have an adventure? So here's an adventure. National Student Exchange. If you end up at UNM or state, they both partner with this program, and you can go for up to a year to any sister school throughout the country. You can surf around this by yourselves for up to a year. So say I'm like, my dream was to go to school in California, but I can't afford California. So sure I can for a year because I'm going to do National Student Exchange, and you pay your cheap New Mexico tuition. That's what's the sweet deal about this. You can go to any of these schools. You work with, they have a whole department at UNM and state that takes care of this. You can go anywhere. You can go to my home state in New York. You can go to Canada. I think they have like the Virgin Islands on here, Puerto Rico. So if that sounds interesting to you, and you do have to pay for the room and board, but your tuition stays the same cheap New Mexico tuition. So that is a super popular program. So students, you could do a year of that and even a year abroad on top of that, depending on if it's important to you, All colleges offer study abroad. I did it. I went to Germany when I was a student in college, and I loved it, and it was the hardest thing I ever did. But if you ever want to pick my brain about that, great. You're going to have an advisor in college. They're going to do a 4-year plan with you. What do you want to major in? What's your plan? Are you going to have a minor? Do you want to be in our honors college? What do you want to do? Do you want to go abroad? And you can craft a whole plan. You can say, I think I want to do that student exchange for a year, and I think I want to go to Spain for 1 summer. Whatever you want to do. There's so many opportunities. There's whole departments at every college that offer these opportunities. Honors colleges, the last thing I'll say, for those students who are excellent students, maybe you take honors in AP, maybe you're in gifted, you like challenging classes, and you're thinking you're going to end up at a big school where, there's 30, 40,000 students. Think about honors colleges. It's like a little microcosm inside of the big school. They offer challenging courses. You can get a minor in honors. You can major in honors. You can just get a certification so that if you're applying to grad school, it says, I went to this big university and I worked hard in the honors college. You make connections. You get all kinds of opportunities, and the classes are small and interesting. Like UNM's Honors College, they have, you can get your math credit for your core classes by taking Harry Potter and math, or like the statistics of Harry Potter or something like that. So there's a little bit of flexibility in honors colleges to offer small and interesting classes that you might like. I just want students don't always know about that. You apply to them when you're applying to college, or sometimes even a little bit later. Let me thank you all for your great attendance. I appreciate it. I hope you'll contact me after or between now and next year, however I can help you.